Hello, everyone, and welcome to O Earth News and Media platform. I'm Kapithra this side, and I'm so happy to have you again today. And today I bring you a story, the story of Vaidehi Adithya Nair. Hi, Vaidehi. How are you?
Hello.
Namaste. How are you?
I'm absolutely wonderful.
Good to have you here.
I am wonderful.
Thank you so much for coming.
And I feel great to be here on this platform.
Great. All right. So let's begin. I have a little introduction to do, Vaidehi, before we come back to you. So all of you know that Earth News and Media platform brings any topic related to environment, conservation, minimalism, sustainability, climate change. And I cover these beats through the step of four, kind of routes, which are, kind of to make things easier when we're going through an interview. And the four steps are, taking through the prism of a collective eco-anxiety we feel towards any topic. Number two is the granular level of individual action which has been taken, or any pilot project which has been taken ahead by an individual. Number three is the community transition which has happened because of these efforts which have been taken or may happen in the future too. And number four is a kind of an ecosystem impact, because we want these pilot models or individuals who are taking these actions to also try to see how they can replicate this. So these are the four steps we'll be going through. And a little introduction about Vaidehi again is she comes from a visual art and digital kind of a background, a marketing background as such. And over the last 2 years, I've been watching her very closely because the kind of transition she's made from a very corporate life, a very urban lifestyle, city lifestyle, to something which is more healthier, more, I would say, cozier, more futuristic, is something worth telling. So she's a story in herself, and wanted you to see her, to hear her, and also take the experience she has had so that you can plug it into your lifestyles, because that's the most important thing we can do for something which we all are facing, the threat of kind of climate change, the threat of pollution, the threat of health, non-communicable diseases which we have. So there's a lot to talk to with Vaidehi. And currently she's a student of Ayurveda and permaculture, and also a practicing Satvic Chef. She's in the journey of, kind of doing it. And now she has moved herself off the grid, away from the city limits, and gone on a completely new kind of a journey. So we'll hear all from her, everything from her. So let's stay tuned and let's go completely to, Vaidehi and hear her whole story. So Vaidehi, the platform is yours. I have a few questions which I'll be prompting and you can answer them now. Yeah? Okay. So my first question. Yeah.
Thank you for that introduction first. I actually want to thank you first before we start this interview for starting a platform called O Earth, and the work that you're doing. Everybody, every sustainability practitioner out there will not be successful, would not be able to spread the vibe that we are creating if it was not for people like you, who's actually helping us be heard and reach more people. So thank you so much for starting this platform.
Thank you so much again to you. The topic today is living a sustainable urban lifestyle, because, when everybody is talking about sustainability, there are these very, kind of delicate things we also need to cross, and also very simple things we need to cross. So my first question to you is, what really is sustainable lifestyle?
So again, I don't consider myself to be, an expert at anything. I'm still a student of life. I'm still a student of everything. So in my experience of what I have seen in my journey, I think sustainable lifestyle starts from a conscious mind. from just having a conscious thought process. Because we have that habit of, when nobody is watching, we'll just toss our garbage anywhere. Only when someone's watching, we want to obey the rules and put it in the dustbin. So when you have a conscious mind, whether someone's watching or not, it doesn't matter. You will still do the right thing, because somewhere in your mind, I'm going to be able to sleep peacefully, and this thought is not going to haunt me that I did wrong. I caused harm, or any kind of disadvantage because of my actions to anybody else, any person or environment, or the anything actually. So that conscious mindset is where a sustainable lifestyle comes from. Every sustainability practitioner out there is doing something to please themselves more than anybody else. They are trying to work towards their own peace of mind, their own conscience, and to also, of course, there are a lot of mothers, a lot of fathers out there who are trying to make a good impression on the future generation. So yes, that is what sustainability is about, having a conscious, very, very conscious mindset.
Wow. Okay. All right. So how did this all start? How did you acknowledge this whole way of sustainable life, or the life you're living? I don't want to put the term only sustainable to it, because I think it's much more than, even that. So how did you come to do this, and why did you do this?
So I have transitioned into a more spiritual way of life, and sustainability being a part of it. So I will start by introducing that I am a Marwadi, born and brought up in Gujarat. So it's a lethal combination of being, you can think about the kind of I call myself a big kanjus in a lot of ways, chindi chor, like makhi choos, or whatever terminologies out there. I am very, very what do you say, calculative, and very stingy about, say, even if I'm eating a bowl of soup, even if it's in a restaurant, I don't care. I'm going to make sure I finish every thing in that bowl, every last drop of that soup. I'll not let it go, because I know it's going to go to the waste bin. Yeah. So if I am emptying a jar, say if I am probably blending something in my mixie, okay, in my blender, yeah, and then I'm emptying it out, I will make sure, I've seen my mother, I've seen my grandmother, I've seen the way their hands and fingers work. They will wipe clean every little drop from that blender, and yeah, nothing will go to waste. So when I go to I've also obviously worked with chefs, and behind in the kitchen and restaurants and all, just for experience sake, I've seen people empty a jar of batter from one vessel to the other, and leave so much of the batter stuck to that vessel, and they're just tossing it out. And that doesn't work with me, because the way I've been brought up, the way I've seen my mother and my grandmother, my nani especially, I've seen them use in terms of food, cloth, any kind of resource to the T, without any kind of wastage. Of course, probably their intention was different. Their intention was to to not waste, because fir wo, bachat, expenses. Yes. That was their intention. For me, maybe that's not the intention. For me, the intention is that, okay, if I make wastage, theek hai, mera pocket to will take a toll. But what about the impact in terms of now that we are aware of the kind of impact that waste has, yes, every individual, the kind of waste we are creating, and what kind of environmental impact it has. So we are also aware of that. So it's a double whammy that way. So that's where the mindset comes from. Of course, the upbringing matters a lot. Yes. My mom is one of those creatures who's spent $500 on fabric and lace and this, and created an outfit which looks worthy of $15,000, that you will buy from a designer showroom or something. And I have seen that, I've learned that, and that's the kind of life I have lived, is why even when I started earning money, and I used to, when I was working initially for the first one decade of, from the time that I was in 1920 till the time that I turned 30, that one decade, I was like, I'm earning money. I'm not going to go to a tailor. Like, that's just so passe. Like, that's just for old people, and that's so 1980s. Like, I'm gonna go for like a ready-made outfit. I'm gonna go to Hypercity. There's that. Abhi to sab kuch
Yeah,
taiyar milta hai, so why should I take any efforts? Like, And I
exactly.
used to tell my mother, I'm like, why are you so? Well, you're crazy. Look at the world. How much technology we have. Why don't you use that? Why are you still stuck with? But now I feel I have gone back to that thought process of trying to create everything for myself,
Yeah,
because of course, like, I come from a DNA of artists. My mother is an artist. She's a fine artist and an excellent craftsman. She's also a chef. And my nani, of course, I mean, not that she had a profession, but she was one of the most popular people in the society, in the family, in the colony, because she knew almost everything from needlework to making clothes to making variety of food, and experimenting with food. And so very, very talented, extremely creative. That's the kind of lineage that I come from. Is So I will say, what I have, the talent I possess, is just 25% of the DNA that has been passed down.
yeah,
So probably it's just the confidence. That's the difference from generation to generation, that now I am working, using my talent towards doing something that is more professional, and I am able to confidently put myself out there, which was lacking in the previous generations. That's the only difference. But otherwise, this has always been there in our families, and it's just now, after the age of 30, as I'm like now 35, in the last 5 years, all of that DNA and that culture has like started oozing out of me. And
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is so great you're sharing this with us, because I think all of us have these stories. All of us who have been realizing this intergenerational kind of, a kind of a cycle, right? I mean, we always felt, the generation is, like the family tree, right? Moving kind of like this. But I think it's a cycle, and the kind
yeah,
of home economic lessons we can have with our people we knew, the women we knew, the people we knew. I think it's I think the waste which was generated then was so less, because the packaged food, the processed food was so less. And everybody always used to kind of understand that. And also it was about the knowledge, right? I mean, what to do with the rest of the kind of, maybe the peels, the fruit peels, or the vegetable peels, or the seeds. People used to have, a conscious way of also storing this. But I think
yeah.
we are learning a lot now again. So that was an amazing kind of an experience. And also, what actually is happening with a lot of us, actually, we are going back and seeing this and trying to, kind of learn from it. So tell me, what are the challenges when it comes to a urban sustainable lifestyle? Because it's not so easy. Even I've been trying to do this minimalistic thing. I mean, as you said, shopping 60% of your income, and then, kind of 70% at times, and at times even 80%. And then, you move on, of course. You have a family, and then, you feel, okay, I'll save also. But still, turning from a shopaholic to someone who rarely kind of, goes in shops, it's been a journey. So what about you? I mean, what are the challenges you've always faced around this?
If you talk about shopping, if you talk about materialistic possessions, then that maybe was never a challenge as such, because
Okay.
since I was a child, I was a very, very simple person. I was more
Okay.
athletic. I was not really very worried about my physical appearance. I was somebody who will not even comb my hair, or just keep my hair really short so I don't have to like do much about it. And I'll just last minute go for a wedding. I'll just collect whatever I have, and uh, so I'm not very in terms of very conscious about my physical appearance.
Okay.
And I feel that when people are very conscious about making an impression on others with their physical appearance, or so that is when the materialistic possessions begin. For me, it
Yeah.
was always that if you are impressed with my intellect and what I speak, then I'd like to talk to you. Otherwise, if you are judging me by what I'm wearing and how I look, then I think it's better we don't speak. So I've
Yeah.
Since the time I was a child, this is the kind of attitude that I've had. So materialistic possessions were never my thing. I was a big time foodie. So that
Mm.
was one thing. If I used to tell everybody, if I want to earn a lot of money and have a big balance, is only bank balance is only because I want to eat lots of food and try everything on this planet.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about spending your income, I would spend 60, 70, 80% on my income on just,
On-
eating food, like, restaurants, and I don't know, like just food, like just, buying food, and uh, even say packaged food or whatever. So food was definitely one of uh, my
yeah.
weaknesses. Used to be one of my weaknesses.
So Vaidehi, also about the challenges, on your way to this transition, can we talk about that? Because, it's not so easy. And, it takes a lot because the people around you also need to accept that lifestyle, right? Somehow it takes time for that kind of a change to happen. So even from a family perspective, and then your different circles, right? Your friend circle, people So how did that, kind of what were those challenges which you're facing till now, maybe?
So yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this to you before also. If you talk about challenges, of course, there are many categories of topics that in terms, but challenges, yes, many challenges, and I would not say there were challenges. There still are a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges that I'm still facing, and probably will take a long time for any of that to be still a challenge or a struggle. The one thing being, of course, your immediate environment. The immediate environment is your family, is people you live with in the same house,
Yeah.
because especially if you're living, if you're married, and if you're living with your husband or your in-laws. So that way, what happens is that in our culture, basically the way things go is that when you enter a family, you are entering that environment, so you have to adapt to that environment. You don't make the rules, you adapt to the rules. So when you start making new rules in that house, it's not a very comfortable or a conversation. It does get it does get a little awkward in terms of trying your best to not be very rigid and authoritative, or to help people transition into understanding where your thought process is coming from and why you need that certain change in
Yeah.
the household,
Yeah.
and how it's going to impact them positively. And it's a good intention. It's not something that you're doing for your own selfish needs.
Yes.
So that is still a challenge. That is something that I'm still not able to completely overcome. But yes, I have experienced that if you persistently keep doing things that are not harming anyone, if there are positive actions that you're taking and they're not, uh, so what you have to basically do is make a little extra efforts, because if I am telling people in my household that let's segregate plastic and we will send it for recycling.
Yeah.
Now, segregation of plastic means that you also have to wash it once and make sure all the food that is stuck to the plastic is out.
Yes.
After that, you can't just store it wet like that, after washing. You have to allow it to dry and drain out all the water. And then, so now that is a process that I can't expect people to do, and because it's an effort that I am asking them to take. So, that
Yes.
will definitely be perceived very negatively. So that effort I have to take. I have to make sure to tell them, just put all your plastic packaging in this, and I will do the washing, cleaning, drying, and storing. So I
Yeah.
have to take. So you cannot expect that other people will do it, and probably they will begin to do it when they see that, okay, that this is something that is so easy to do, and it's not like it's taking hours in a day
Yeah.
every day, something extra. For me, it's become a subconscious habit now. It's like it's happening from the left hand. Like I don't have to do anything extra for it. It's
Yeah.
become a habit.
Yeah.
And similarly, people do adapt, do understand when they see that a larger impact is happening, or when outsiders come and appreciate you.
Yeah.
So that's when they are like, okay, maybe we. So yeah, it is. I mean, that of course, is a challenge.
Yeah.
The second is, of course, when you move out of your immediate circle, like your, the fact that I am not giving out plastic, uh, and I'm going zero waste. Literally, I see my garbage truck, the guy going disappointed every day, uh, because he expects ke kuch to purana joote milenge, kapde kuch to milega, like and then we are providing a service to us, right? So how do they come and ask us for Diwali if we are not utilizing that service? So, right, so disappointment at that level. Then my rag pickers, people who come asking specifically for bottles. There's a really old lady who used to come house to house in Belapur, and she used to only ask for plastic bottles and all plastic waste, because probably she was sending it to a recycler or something. But then again, the way she was collecting plastic and the way it was again being dumped, people are just
Yeah.
dumping the plastic onto her, and she's dumping the plastic further. Now usme se
Yeah.
kitna sara plastic gets discarded
Yeah.
and does not get recycled because it's not cleansed and dry and stored properly, so
Yes.
again, that is a process that you don't want to promote. I've been trying to also educate these rag pickers that why don't you help us volunteer for our plastic waste recycling, and we will give you some kind of wages, whatever we can afford. But
Yes.
what you're doing, the process, that is not the right way to do it. But then, seeing disappointment in her eyes when I said that, sorry, I've collected plastic, but I have to send it for recycling through a campaign initiative that we've started. And that's, that kind. So these are emotional challenges as well that you face. And then, your neighbors kind of wondering, like, for example, composting has
Yeah.
been a little bit of a challenge when it comes to neighbors and even people living in your house, that makhi aayega, machhar aayega,
Yeah.
and it's unhygienic,
Yeah.
and
It will start
especially
stinking. Yeah.
especially during the pandemic, the kind of care that people had with
Yeah.
health.
Mhm.
Me even storing, so I have these water containers where I put my plants in, like that.
Yeah.
So even having such containers on display outside in the garden was a problem. People are like, "Feko pani, feko, get this out." Like, you're breeding mosquitoes. I'm trying to tell them, listen, I change the water. I keep an eye because, of course, my plant is very dear to me. So I wanted to grow healthy. So I'm making sure the water is clean and all. But they don't want to trust me. They just see those bottles every day and they're like,
Yeah.
get it out, because probably
Yeah.
that's the reason why there are mosquitoes in our society. So yeah, many challenges like
Yeah.
that. Like, even the fact that, say I'm an animal lover, I have adopted 2 dogs. I have recently, yesterday, adopted a third one.
Huh?
So and it's not something I chose. It's something that the universe just, gifted me with, or
Yeah.
rather just bestowed on me. And this is not my decision. They just happened to me. And when a soul comes into your life and you see that there's no other way but you have to help it, that's the only way it will survive,
Yeah.
you do it.
Yeah.
So, and but a lot of people, including your family or your neighbors, don't take it well, and they start judging you on the basis of the fact that you're trying to dirty their environment,
Yeah.
and create some kind of a nuisance with, of course, because animals, again, dogs, street dogs, stray indie dogs, are not considered very clean. They are not considered, they're considered as, I don't know, they probably bark and disturb
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
nuisance, and they'll bite my child, and a lot of scare around it.
Yeah.
So uh, living consciously, having a good heart, and trying to just do good is not enough. You have to have a lot of courage
Yeah.
to face
Agree.
a lot of people who will, come and literally throw stones at you, like literally, like, I've been hurled abuses at by people who think that I should not be adopting stray dogs and
Yeah.
whatever, like that. There has been some very, very scary incidents where it kind of enrages you as well. You're in your calm and happy space, and somebody comes and pokes you to a level
Yeah.
where you are like, let me live. This is my space. Like, you don't come and dictate what I do within my household.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I totally get what you're saying, because I think trying to be in a lot of spaces in the same boat as yours. I think you get those looks from people. You know, it's like it's sometimes it's like, what is she even doing? Or is it even worth it? She's wasting her time. And this is not the this is not the
the psycho.
of living. This is not the way of living. This is not how one lives. It's like a rule book which has been given to people, where there's a checklist and you have to tick off. You have to go to school, you have to get to college, you have to get working, you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to it's a checklist. And that's a very big huge issue. That checklist never changes. And that's how I think you don't grow as a person. There's no growth. And I mean, coming from a mindset coaching perspective, this is my experience too. So let's move on. It's been great hearing you till now. So who are these maybe people or brands you've associated with in your sustainable journey? A few things about them. Yeah.
So the first brand that really inspired me, and probably I was the one initially wondering what are these guys even doing, is Satyajit and Ajinkya Hange. These are two brothers who have a farm, and now a multi-billion-dollar international brand with an umbrella of a lot of indigenous products, which are farm products, and it's called the Two Brothers Organic Farm.
Okay.
And initially when I was just a creative who was trying to organize events. Again, somewhere I had the conscious mind, so I was trying to organize an event where we introduce a lot of eco-friendly alternatives to your everyday products. And so I came across them when they were trying to build Two Brothers Organic Farm. At that point in time, they were only launching. They had only launched it outside of India, and the strategy that they had was brilliant. To first get fame outside of India, and that is how Indians start appreciating. Your
Yeah.
desi ghee, cow ghee, and desi traditional methods of making sugar, your jaggery out of sugarcane, and the kind of vessels to use, and wood fire, and all. And even from the fact that the seed that goes into firstly the ground, the soil is pure and pristine, the way nature is supposed to have made it, without any interference of fertilizers or anything, max to max, your manure and your natural fertilizing methods. And then when the seed goes in, that seed also comes from a non genetically modified source. So these are non-GMO seeds that they use. And uh, yeah, and then the plant grows, and then it bears fruits which are not just organic. Organic is just the first stage, but then there's something more to that which is indigenous, which is a DNA which is organic, not just that fruit.
Yeah.
So even if you're growing something without any fertilizer on a soil which has previously used fertilizers, you can't call it organic. So these guys have basically gone to the lengths and breadths of not just organic food, but indigenous food varieties. And
Yeah.
they have also helped other people like bee farmers during pandemic, and they've launched the honey under raw honey under their own brand, because they already had a process and marketing all set up.
Yeah.
I remember that there was an incident during the pandemic when there was no transportation happening, and there were farmers throwing away their tomatoes.
Yeah.
These two brothers, they took up the tomatoes, and because they're smart and they're aware, they
Yeah.
dehydrated the tomatoes, and sun dried them,
Sun-dried them. Yeah.
and packaged them as sun-dried tomatoes, and gave
Oh.
those farmers the proper income that they should have had selling those tomatoes. And of
Yeah.
course they themselves also created one more item under their umbrella. So I think that a businessman should definitely do good business, should definitely succeed, and should definitely make loads of money, But if you can do that while helping others and also doing good,
Yeah.
why not? That consciousness of doing whatever that you are doing. So I really have huge respect for Ajinkya Hange and Satyajit Hange. And now Durga ji, that is their sisters, also joined them, and she's the face that represents the brand on social media. So
Okay.
you should definitely check this out. It's a wonderful page to follow. The kind of
Sure.
content that you put is
Sure.
so soothing, and it keeps you, in touch with your roots.
Okay.
And yeah, very, very inspirational. So that's one brand that, in fact, they were the ones who gave me the push as Mango Green. They were the
Okay.
first brand that kind of came up to me and told me that what you're doing is really good, and we would like to give you an opportunity to take over our Insta handle for a day. And that came as a surprise, because I was like, really, am I capable of this? Can I really do this? And when that happened, when that takeover happened, the kind of content that I created and generated, I surprised myself.
Mm.
And then the kind of response I had after that, uh, they were the first ones who gave me that little push and making me realize that, listen, what you're doing is great and that you should reach more people.
Yeah.
And they kind of pushed me into understanding my own potential, that, really, I know that's something that I can really do with this.
Yeah.
So,
And you need such people around you, right? Because sometimes you're self-doubting yourself, trying to think if, is this the way or is this what it is? But I think the best way to grow is, collaborating. And, the best way to do business, as you said, is a responsible and community-based business, and that grows bountiful. Yeah.
that's
So,
some other brands that I'd like to mention
yeah.
is that when you spoke about collaboration.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my Ayurvedic nutrition course, I was basically transitioning, in terms of changing a lot of items in my pantry, in my kitchen, and trying to look for organic sources of food. Your general food items like grains and vegetables and fruits and masalas and all of that.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of research in Navi Mumbai, and I literally Googled and researched, and also came across a lot of things on Instagram and Facebook and suggestions on these groups, organic groups or the communities, and made a list of all the organic stores and food vendors in Navi Mumbai. And I went to every store and found out what they were doing. And that's when I landed up, in a store called Seawoods Organic Store, which is
Yeah.
run by Mitran Jain.
Yeah.
And he's a young guy, and the kind of work that he's doing in terms of just creating this little store, this little platform where you can go with your eyes shut and not wonder if this is organic, that is organic, how is this process, how is that process.
Yeah.
Because initially I was just a customer who walked in and bought a few products, but then we got very friendly. We got, because we're the same age, probably we became friends, and he really appreciated what I was doing with my Instagram handle, and we started working together. I was trying to trying to promote them, they were trying to help me out. So that's when I understood the kind of scrutiny that every product or everything that goes on their shelf has to go through,
Yeah.
and the wonderful conscience that he is doing his business with, Mitran Jayan, the kind of conscience that he has, that I am not going to provide anything substandard or anything that I have promised. Even if people don't know what I am doing behind closed doors in my storeroom, I'm not going to cheat my customers, and I'm only going to give them things that will improve their health. And he's literally put out a challenge to people that you eat from my store, you eat organic food for 3 months and see the difference in your health. And that's when you will understand, how much organic clean eating can really impact your health. And I have had a health transformation after that. I have come down. I had reached 98 kgs, and now I am 74 kgs, which is
Wow.
without any. I mean, I have struggled all my life to lose 5 kgs of weight. I lost 27 kgs of weight without any efforts. I want to just go back in time and tell that little girl that, listen, don't kill yourself. All you have to do is study, get the right knowledge, get the right perspective. You don't have to work out for 2 hours. I work out for 15 minutes. I just go for a walk sometimes, that's all I do. And just eat right, eat on time, and,
Yeah.
understand your body, how it is able to, your digestion system, and that's about it.
Yeah,
So
I think it's the unadulterated food patterns and the kind of food you're eating. And yeah, we are going to check out the store too, because I've heard of it. I know I follow them, but I've still not visited them. So I think I'm going to do that.
definitely.
Great, great, Vaidehi. So let's move on, and um, I think we've spoken about a lot of things, even the perspective about the kind of approach you should have, the mindset you should have to have this kind of a lifestyle. Because I think at this stage it may become very effortless to you, but for someone who's starting, and for me too, like I need to start. I still need to start. I know part of it, but then there's a lot to do. Any in a one liner, what would you say? What is the kind of perspective you need to have this lifestyle?
Again, I think I'll go back to what I said initially, that just developing a little bit of conscience.
Yeah.
And by conscience, I mean that there are so many people out there who are violent in terms of doing violence to your own self, to your own body, to your own mind. If you want to live so Ayurveda, yoga, they teach you to live a life of ahimsa, that is non-violent.
Yeah.
So it's not just that you don't hurt animals, you don't hurt other people. No, stop hurting yourself first. Stop putting junk food in your system.
Yeah.
Stop putting negative thought process in your mind. Stop being violent towards yourself.
Yes.
Take care of yourself. I think self-love, if everybody can really create that within themselves, of loving themselves and respecting themselves, for whoever that you are first, before you begin to love and respect or anything else.
Yes.
That is where the conscience begins from. That I want to have a good night's sleep, because I can't sleep with the anxiety of doing something wrong to somebody else. So I am loving myself and being, I won't say selfish, but thinking about myself, that I will probably have anxiety or sleepless nights if I do anything wrong to anybody else. So start loving yourself a little more.
Yes.
Everything that you do, be it living a zero waste lifestyle, be it having a sustainable lifestyle perspective, or being more spiritual and following Ayurveda as a lifestyle, all of that comes from self-love. All of that stems from somebody who loves their own body, their own mind, and that is, of course, then their environment, and then their family. And if you are strong enough, if you're healthy enough, if you're mentally fit enough, that is when you go out and help others, right? If you are not able to help yourself and not stand firm your own 2 feet, how are you supposed to be useful to other people? And everybody does not have to be useful to other people, but you be useful to yourself, if nothing.
Agree. I think it's all about our whole journey of self-love is it's a customized plan. We know the best for ourselves, so just put a plan for yourself and try to follow that. And that is much required than having a rule book checklist on this is how life has to be. So great. My last question to you is, what is your ultimate goal with this sustainable lifestyle journey you have taken? And there's a lot more in store, I know that. And how does this entire journey have a wider ecosystem impact? Because from an individual granular level, what you're doing, I think we still not covered a lot of it, but still looking at this kind of a magnanimous kind of experience you've had and you're still having, and moving on to how does that make a wider impact is something I want to ask you. So what are your plans, what are your goals? Yes.
So if I speak about my goal, let me talk about the impact first.
Yeah.
So when I was living in the city, of course, when you start doing things around your own household, like I spoke about, like, other people start looking at you and wondering what you're doing. And then you start having those conversations with other people and about waste segregation and plastic waste collection. And they are like, okay, you're doing this. And I'm then, to make your own life easy so that you don't have to go and drop plastic somewhere for recycling. You are like, okay, let me rope in a few more people who can do this so that we can call for a truck for a pickup. So it makes my life easy. So if I can rope in more people, it's a group and we're doing it together. And that's how it becomes a campaign for the entire society. Of course, everybody will not be on board, but
Yeah.
most people.
Yeah.
And I was very thankful to be living in a society. Again, another brand that I'd like to mention. They're not a brand, it's an organization, which is Agro Garden CBD, Belapur.
Yeah.
These guys living in Sector 9 CBD, Belapur, again, gave me a huge perspective shift, gave me a lot of knowledge, gave me a platform to experiment, to learn. This is one place that every Navi Mumbaikar should visit and should be aware of.
Yeah.
It's a butterfly garden, a botanical jungle, and a fully functional vegetable and fruit farm right in the middle of the city. It's in Belapur. It's in the central business district area, so it's extremely approachable and a 15-minute probably drive to any Navi Mumbaikar for that matter. And the entire the members, the guys who started this are BARC scientists, ex-army men, naval captains, and now they are the next generation, which is photographers and architects. And these are kids who are now 50 years old, but they've grown up in Sector 9. So they've grown up with this environment, and they talk about the patterns on butterflies and recognizing insects and trees through leaves. And there are 5-year-olds having that same conversation because that is the environment that they're growing
They're
up
being
in.
given. Yeah.
So being so educated and aware of your environment, so there is no need to be scared. There are so many snakes that we live in Sector 9 with. There are snakes we encounter, and children know exactly what to do when they encounter the snake. You have how you can be respectful towards the environment, but also not be afraid and tackle it in a way that you're safe.
Yeah.
So the kind of the environment that I saw in Sector 9 CBD Belapur was amazing. Agro Garden again was a learning platform for me, and these are people who were always ready to start something new. And they started with the intention of becoming an educational platform for building awareness around waste segregation, about environment, about growing food. And although I was a part of agro for the last 5 years, they are almost 20 years old.
Oh.
So they started much before that. What I brought in probably was the technology aspect, because I was a digital artist who comes from a marketing and social media background. So I
Yeah.
put them on social media, on Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram, and got them.
Yeah.
So that's probably
Yes.
the
I think it's
only thing that I brought in. But
the visibility aspect was there because, even, I kind of, saw it in your platforms, and then I said, okay, this is there, this is something which, is doing something like this. Great. Yeah.
So that is also one. So that's now become a community. So we had began an initiative on plastic waste collection. Started with a few people, and then that WhatsApp group is just growing every day. I'm still a part of it. I still
Yeah.
remotely help them out with their communication and their online campaigning. And the on ground is, of course, handled by the resident members there. And we conduct activities and workshops, and Basant Utsav Mela that happens every January, end of
Yeah.
January, Feb first week, where children are given the opportunity and the platform to learn from that space that these oldies have created.
Yeah.
Dr. Bhagwat, Captain Pandey, these are people. They are I think they're almost 70 plus, both of them. And they've built this paradise for children to learn from, and they're just sitting there waiting, kick up, there's one herd of children that will come and listen to their stories and, learn, so that all that they have, all the knowledge that they have acquired
Yeah.
can be passed on to a generation that can also continue to take care of the environment just like they have. So the intention is so beautiful. And I think that right now we have around 350, 400 followers on Agro Garden CBD Instagram page. I think there should be thousands of followers, because that's an initiative that needs a lot of crowd support.
Yeah.
And a lot of volunteers to come on ground, appreciate, and also work towards it. And it's an open space for anyone to just come and own it and
Yeah.
contribute towards it and take the benefit from it. So
Yeah. I think it's a fabulous effort when your neighborhood is thriving with spaces and people who would who understand what is its significance, and the whole this I always call it the art of sharing knowledge, because there are two kinds of people, people who share knowledge, people who don't want to share knowledge. I think the ones who share knowledge is where the space is thriving, it's growing. It's going forward. So fabulous. This is another place which even being in Navi Mumbai for all these years, I've still not visited. I keep looking at their posts, and it's still there. I think we live in a vast world, and I always tell Navi Mumbai is it's though even it's so vast, still not visited places, still not explored, and still it sometimes look like a hill station. Even you were saying in Belapur, me saying, and I tried coming and meeting you at one point of time, because I somehow felt so connected with you, and we rarely, like, we don't even know about each other much at that point of time. And I mean, and now I'm like, I'm always kind of looking at you, and I'm like, there she is, making her story, creating her own, world, and pulling everyone in. And, it's kind of fabulous when you're talking about all these people who have been part of your journey till now, because it's together we can make this, grow. And so what about your off the grid journey now? You're sitting somewhere and I want to know about it.
Yeah. So, even in terms of having an impact in the spaces around, now that I'm off the grid, I'm living on a 4-acre farm. It's a mango orchard as well, and we also grow rice here. We have lots of vegetables. So this is a space that I have borrowed from a friend for a couple of years, because I have bought a piece of land a little far ahead, which is still in the process of being developed. So until then, all my programs are hosted here. So even here, that I've been living here since June. Okay, end of May, June. And so yeah, it's going to be like 5 months that I've been here. I've received a lot of love from the village around me. So I'm the only bungalow as such over here, and the rest of it is all village. It's called Kalote village near Khalapur. And the people in the village are extremely warm, and I did take a little bit of effort, and I baked some cakes and cupcakes and some pizzas, and took it to people, and especially houses with children, and tried to be friendly and socialize and introduce myself to people that I'll be living here, so we'll be neighbors, so let's know each other.
Yeah.
And the way they've welcomed me and the kind of love that they showed me was so brilliant. Now I have so the reason, the intention was to, of course, get in touch with the local Mahila Mandal, if there's an organization of women. And the second thing is schools, the local school over here. Yeah. So the two things that I want to achieve via this is that now for the Mahila Mandal, I intend to organize a tea party, like a nice kitty party, tea party, where I can tell them a little about everyday, health, everyday Ayurveda that you can follow, that you can, keep yourself and your family illness and medicine free. And apart from that, educate them via experts. So I have other people. Avni is a brand, again, by a friend, Sujata, who's basically started with eco-friendly menstrual products.
Okay.
And so your cloth pads and your menstrual cup and things
Cups,
like that.
yeah.
So I'd like to introduce that to these people because it's also pocket friendly, and it's going to impact a lot of the wastage that they are creating, and of course the hygiene aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one thing. And with the schools, with the children, I've already started to gang up a lot of children in terms of chalo painting, drawing karte hain saath mein baith ke, and I started to talk to them about waste segregation. And because when I came here, I saw that they're burning all their trash. They cannot afford the kachre ka gadi coming
Yeah.
outside their doorstep because the Gram Panchayat literally asked me for $1,000 a month for just the kachre ki gadi to come to me. So I said, okay, that's a bit too much. So I can imagine the others will not go for it. So they're literally just stacking all their waste and going behind their own house and burning all of it, including plastic. They're burning plastic. So I had to, like, kind of talk to everybody that I came across and tell them that, listen, firstly, you should really stop burning plastic because the fumes that, is going to affect your own children, not today, but when today they're 10 years old, tomorrow when they're 40 years old, they're going to have health hazards, because of inhaling all the plastic around you. So, or even spraying pesticides to kill weeds or to kill insects, or treating they have wells here, they have a dam, there's such good water. But just to be a little extra cautious, there are these chemical tablets that they use to purify the lake instead of using turtles and fishes to keep the water clean. So I'd like to educate the children more, on waste segregation and making them understand that, probably with a little bit of a candy or a little carrot, that, if you segregate all your plastic waste and all your dry waste, wet waste, of course, there are all farmers here. So the wet waste becomes compost. It's good fertilizer for your land. And if you separate the dry waste, okay, paper, I'm going to take a workshop and make sure the children know how to make paper mesh items, so that they start saving paper, all the paper waste, so that they have the kind of interest, like iska kuch banayenge types, so that kind of a carrot. And plastic, okay, again, I have tried to show them examples of what we did in Belapur, back in Belapur sector 9, that we used to collect plastic, and Project Mumbai was our recycling partner, and Shakti Plastics was basically helping us recycle. And then what they would do is gift agro with benches made out of that recycled plastic. Probably over a year, they would take all the recycled plastic and then they will gift us a bench. So if I can get all of these guys to segregate their plastic, and I can actually tell Project Mumbai to send a truck right here to collect plastic, and then if they get a bench in return, that's going to be a huge carrot. And if I can create a campaign like we did in Belapur, in terms of calling all the children and painting the bench and making it look very pretty, like a spot where people will come and click selfies, and so the village guys will be like, okay, this is great contribution for our public space, so let's do this. So some kind of a benefit that comes out of it, because just saving the environment is not going to go down their understanding very, because they don't even understand the effect of the pandemic, because there's nobody who's got corona in this village. They don't even understand the seriousness of the pandemic. They just think that, okay, ये तो government ने lockdown लगाया है, corona आया था, corona चला जाएगा, corona गया. I'm like, it's not a festival that is going to just go on a certain date, right? So they don't understand, because there's nobody who's gotten affected, because there's nobody who's died around them, is why they don't understand the impact of it. So that's how disconnected they are. And making them understand about global warming and environmental impact, they don't care, because they're living in a very pure, pristine space where there's air, water and greenery everywhere. Like, what is wrong? So instead of that, if I can show them some kind of a a selfish benefit that they can get out of it, anything that kind of makes them understand that waste segregation is important, and menstrual hygiene again helps you create less waste, and it's also skin friendly, and it's like using a sanitary napkin, again, there's so much of cervical cancer happening, and PCOS, and you're exposing yourself to chemicals every 5 days, every month. So again, that is something that they don't realize. And if I can bring that kind of impact in this local space, just this, I didn't 50, 60 families that are around me, it will be great. And of
Yeah.
course, the local school.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, wherever I shift base again to probably Khopoli, Pali, again, the local schools, the local, I will not say Gram Panchayat because I'm not somebody who trusts the government bodies so much, but I would rather trust the Mahila Mandal
Yeah.
to understand what I'm trying to say and make an impact in their own families, because I think women are, it's, I don't know why we call it a patriarchal society. I think it's a placebo again. Because women have been running households and taking
Yeah.
the most ridiculous decisions uh, since generations, and that is how it's always been. Probably now they've started to earn money and be financially independent, but women have all, I have always seen grandmothers, grandfathers listening to their wives and mothers, and I don't know, it's just that the man will come forward and say that, oh, I am physically stronger, so I will protect my family, but at the back there is a woman standing who's literally governing the mind that this man has,
Yeah.
so I've always believed that households in India have always been run by women. Families have always been educated by women, and women and children are the ones who can make the maximum impact in
Yeah.
society. So if you educate children, they listen to you, they absorb well, they are wanting to, maybe just to impress you, you impress their teachers, they are wanting to be very dedicated to the process. And women, they are the ones holding the family, the health and the nutrition and the finances and everything. So if you educate them,
Yeah.
mulgi shikli pragati jali, which is like the one liner I would like to end with. So this is the kind of impact that I'm trying to create, which is above and beyond my own personal life.
Wow. I think you've taken local to completely another level, because, I think I always look at local from a perspective of, what can you do within even half a yard of your house, right? I mean, then you move on 3 kilometer, 5 kilometer, and that's how you look at it. And you're very rightly said, women and children are going to be, they're always someone who, have this thing of also, accepting something very soon and, taking it forward, So, I mean, there is so much more, Vaidehi, but then it's been great having you, hearing out your entire journey. Now, this is more like a documentary now, rather than, a little news piece which I wanted to create. And yeah, and I think a lot of us who are hearing this till now, and I am sure a lot of them would do, because I'm going to force a lot of them to watch this as a documentary, see what journey this is. It's, at times when you think might seem tough, but it also can become a very effortless journey, because if you're going to share what knowledge you have, what you want to give the world with others, it becomes so easy, so simple, and so beautiful. And that's the life Vaidehi has created. That's the world Vaidehi is creating. And I think this time we're doing it on Zoom, Vaidehi, and I think I would be coming there, seeing you, meeting you right where you are, going around looking at, the world you're trying to create out there. So thank you so much for being with us with the Over platform. I'm going to come back to this. Yes.
Thank you so much for this platform. Thank you so much for inviting me here. And you're welcome. I am literally waiting for when you're going to arrive here so I can pamper you with my food and the environment out here. And of course, I would like you to join with your entire family, especially your children, so that, because this is a space where children run free and climb trees. So hoping to host more and more people into my own home. I have opened my home for anyone to come and experience a sustainable lifestyle and come and see it firsthand, live in it for a couple of days, and then maybe go back with a few habits that you can continue in your own household.
Yes. So that will be such a takeaway, and we'll surely do this. Thank you so much again, and have a nice, great Sunday. Yeah. Bye. Beautiful Sunday.
Thank you. Have a great Sunday.
Yeah. See you.